So, trans people, they are famous for taking this thing called gender affirming healthcare, right? Or needing it rather. Gender affirming healthcare is not exclusive to trans people, but that is largely the demographic that benefits the most from it. And it's come under fire recently because of the Trump administration and their gross, disgusting hatred of trans people, queer people in general, but especially trans people, calling them groomers, taking away their rights to healthcare and all that. So what I want to do today is I came across this on Twitter and I wanted to go over it. Bill Maher, known liberal, decides to debate gender-affirming care with this guy named John Lovett. And I've heard of John Lovett. I've never looked into him very much, but if he's debating Bill Maher, I have to assume he's the good guy here. So, John Lovett and Bill Maher talk trans rights. We have it's a 4-part video here, and we're just going to go through it and see what this is all about, and I'll give my input.
I got to my card that says trans. Let's talk about it.
But I got to go soon.
Let's do 5 minutes.
Okay.
Other countries have national health services. The Democratic position is leave it up to parents, doctors. Just leave. It's not the government's decision. That's the Democratic position. What's wrong with that position? Joe Biden.
Well, the Democratic position in this state, the school has the right to hide it from the parents. That is something that is not...
That has never been a thing. And I'm sure that Lovett is going to say that as well. But that nobody has ever said that trans people should hide their transness from their parents unless they are afraid of their parents abusing them, which is a real fear. Okay, I think in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to hide that. There are some kids that have to hide the fact that they're getting cancer treatments from their religious parents. That's a real thing. Not as common, but it is. Okay, there are some, I mean, let's take a more common one. Kids that hide the fact that they got vaccinations. Okay, your parents might punish you for that. If you're a super religious parent, if you have super religious parents who think that everything can be cured by God, they might call it sacrilegious to get a vaccine. That's a real thing. So yeah, I think in some circumstances it is fine to hide it from your parents. I don't think that's ideal, but you know, if your child is trans and you're the last to find out about it, that might be a you problem. You know, if my child hid something from me that I felt I had the right to know, first of all, like, I don't even know if I am comfortable saying that I have the right to know. You know what I mean? Children have the right to privacy. You know, they don't have to share everything with me once I have kids. But if they feel the need to hide from me that they're trans, I see that as a failure on my part because my children weren't comfortable coming out to me. That's embarrassing. That's a failure on the part of the parent. If your kid's hiding from you the fact that they're trans, maybe there's a you problem. That you should work on yourself.
It's going to go well with the average voter. And again, I'm not even a parent, and I get it. Mm-hmm. Okay? I think the governor here used the word snitch. If I'm wrong, I didn't say it. So I think I read that.
There are delicate problems here. But wait.
Snitches get stitches.
And there's a delicate problem where you have a kid, all right, who is either non-binary or trans who feels scared.
And by the way, there actually was as I said earlier in the stream, I am in school right now getting my psychiatric nurse practitioner license. I'm in my final class. I have some clinicals to do after that. I'm hoping in about a year I'll have my license. But there is a question. It is a board question. If you have a 17-year-old child who, when both the parent and the child are in the room and both of them sign off and say that the child has the rights to their own private health care, okay? If the dad calls about something related to, you know, let's say the child says that they're trans, and the dad calls the healthcare and says, what's this all about? The healthcare provider is legally not even allowed to give information to the dad because they signed the waiver saying that the child has the rights to privacy, okay? So there are instances where, like, it's literally not ethical or legal to tell the parents about things that the children confide in you. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Scared at home, feels unsafe at home. Those things do
argument.
happen in the world. There are things that happen in the world.
They
but
do.
For the most part, that's not what we're talking about. For the most part, what we're talking about is a teenager. They have a gender dysmorphia. So what they feel like is that they feel deeply unhappy, depression, all really rampant.
Yes,
and they go to their parents.
They feel that, and then they blame it on the thing that has been put in their mind way too much, that it may be because of you're in the wrong body, to put it probably wrongly, but
sure,
that we understand what that means, okay? Now, it could be that case. When Trump said there's only two sexes, again, pendulum swinging way too far to stupidity, okay? Obviously, sex is more complicated than just two sexes. Mm-hmm. There are people
Glad he recognizes
who
that at
absolutely
least
are, quote-unquote, in the wrong body. But when you're a kid, even a teenager, and you're that confused about everything and you have no idea...
The thing is, they say that, like, kids and teenagers who are trans are confused. Kids and teenagers who are trans might be the least confused people about their gender identity in the entire world. Like they understand their brains so well, right? And what they want their body to look like, that they are willing to go against the grain of society, who all their lives have been telling them, well, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. They're willing to go against that because they know this is not right for me. Trans people are some of the most certain people in their gender identity that I've ever seen. Okay? Take it from a guy who's tried cross-dressing and doesn't enjoy it. I've tried it. It's fine. I don't mind it, but it's not my style. I like dressing and presenting as masculine. Okay? I guarantee you that most grown men my age have never attempted cross-dressing. They've never even explored their sexuality like I have. Okay? Try the dress on. Maybe you'll like it. You know, it's not a bad thing to explore your gender identity and figure out what works for you. And trans people generally have already done that. They're not confused.
And you're upset for many.
It's everyone
other
around
reasons.
them who's confused.
The idea that they put it. Let me just finish.
I'm not saying it.
I know. I could see you were ready. I could see you pulling back the bow. The fact that they put this in their head too much. That's my thing. There's a default setting for humans, male and female, but there are variations. That's absolutely true. Some people are attracted to people of their own sex, and some people are actually
Sex
in
spectrum.
the quote
I
unquote
agree.
wrong body, and that does happen. But
I hesitate to call it the default. Just I'm nitpicking a little bit. I don't like calling it the default. It's just kind of weird language. It's more rare to be on a different place on the sex spectrum than male and female. I'll concede to that.
the amount that they emphasize this, I compared it once on my show to entrapment.
So
See, there you go.
I disagree. I'm sorry. Is that not the end? Is it?
No,
I
but
thought entrapment had a period at
could
the
I
end.
explain it?
Yes,
though?
explain. I mean, I think we all get it, but yeah, explain it. Entrapment.
I don't think everybody does get it.
Okay, explain it.
Okay. Well, what is entrapment? Entrapment is when you
Yeah, explain
suggest something to people that they weren't ordinarily going to do. I used the example of after 9/11. The FBI got caught basically entrapping some people, which is what they went to people who
Yeah,
who
I
were.
think-
Excuse me, I'm not done.
All right, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Honestly,
And
that
you're-
was rude.
and you're
That
a
was
ho-
rude. That was rude. Bill, finish. You're explaining how
gotta read
being
the-
trans is like being recruited into Al Qaeda.
True. Okay, let's keep going. I'm interested. I am actually interested to hear where Bill Maher is going with this.
Right.
You didn't even let me get through the
You're
thing.
right.
And now I got to go.
You're just gonna leave? We're in the middle of a debate.
Yeah. No. Okay. I'll finish this. Entrapment. Like, okay, so they go to somebody. They go to a group of guys. They did this in a group of poor black guys in Miami, and were unhappy with America. And hey, wouldn't it be great if we blew up the Sears Tower in Chicago? And these guys didn't even have a gun. And it's like, yeah, I hate America, or I got problems with America. That does sound kind of cool. And hey, well, we can get you the explosives.
The social
entrapment.
contagion.
You put an idea in people's heads that wouldn't have been there otherwise. Do I think in most of America they did that in schools?
Okay, my question for anybody who thinks this is, could I trans you? Could I plant the idea into your head and make you trans? How about Bill Maher? Do you think Bill Maher could be trans with enough social influence? Do you think that he's susceptible to that? Do you think he'd admit to being susceptible to that? You know, because if that's the case, I mean, that's a bold admission. Maybe you're trans, Bill Maher, if that is true, you know? If you are, this doesn't work like this, okay? If somebody puts the idea of transness into your head and that makes you think, maybe I'm trans, maybe you're trans. Like, maybe that's, like, if I'm going by Occam's razor here, that seems like the simplest solution to me. Maybe you're just trans. Maybe that's, is that even possible, you know? Like, I'm just saying.
I don't. But I think in enough far left places, they did
Yeah,
constantly.
and great point, Queen Laura. Like, all of the media that exists is cis and cis-centered. Like, the amount of media that actually portrays transness is very fleeting. You know, it's a little bit, and granted, like, unlike other forms of queerness, like being gay or lesbian, it is a little bit more difficult to portray transness. But it is possible. One Piece did it phenomenally, not at first. They were very offensive at first. But Eiichiro Oda, my Lord and Savior, did learn his lesson. And in the Wano segment of One Piece, had a wonderful depiction of a trans woman named Kiku, and a wonderful depiction of a trans man named Yamato/Odin. So, you know, it is possible. And you just don't see that a lot. You really don't see that a lot. It's all cis media and straight media.
Constantly have this idea in the minds of children that maybe you're not in the right body. I mean, the New England Journal of Medicine advocated for taking sex off of a birth certificate, I believe. You're
Based.
assigned sex at
Why does the government need to know my sex? There's no reason. They don't need to know what dangles between my legs. There's no reason for
And
that.
says a birth.
assigned.
Yeah.
You're assigned.
I think that's right.
I was assigned it by my dick,
Yeah.
okay, when I
Well-
was born. Yes, and again, to tell kids it doesn't always
That's
have
weird.
to be and isn't always the default setting, but that's a different mentality than they put in the minds of kids. And that's why
Oh yeah. I'll take any excuse I can to talk about One Piece or Queen Laura. Sorry, Emporio Ivankov that was kind of the middle section where Oda was starting to get his footing on what it means to be trans and what's acceptable presentation of trans people. I think Emporio Ivankov is an excellent example. Alongside Bentham, aka Mr. Two Bonclay. Both of those are fantastic portrayals of queerness. I think that I can understand why some people would find Emporio Ivankov slightly problematic, but it's very flashy, it's very showy. She's a drag queen. He, she, they, drag queen. And I think that it's a fine representation of that. Anyway,
this debate goes on.
I love
and
One
the fact
Piece.
that you think, or a lot of people on the left think that even if you just have this debate, it
Why
makes
did this
you a
get
bigot.
quieter?
You just have to roll over. You asked about the Biden administration. That was their position. If you even question this, you're some sort of a bigot. This is
You're
new
wrong.
science, and it has to do with children. It's not going to look good in the future, that position.
Can I just respond to something?
Now you can.
Now I can respond. All right. Can
I
you
gotta
just All right. Let's just.
I
do,
said
there's
my
a
piece.
lot. You definitely said your piece.
Just say your bullshit while I'm in the bathroom.
Just stay here for 1 second.
Bro.
Okay, I'm kidding.
Unbelievable.
I'm kidding.
All right. No, I know. A lot of things there. First of all,
He's so funny and quirky and likable.
this is going to sound
Say your
confrontational.
bullshit while I'm in the bathroom.
For a long time, people said, oh, older gay people are recruiting kids to be gay.
Yep.
And they wouldn't really be gay. It was they were being recruited, they were being groomed. That was the conservative position. The Christian right position for a long time was the reason you didn't want to have gay teachers is they're going to recruit. That the gay lifestyle is going to look so enticing.
It's all
and so
recycled
exciting
language.
that it's going to bring these poor defenseless boys, mostly boys, into the gay lifestyle and destroy their lives. But of course that wasn't true. Really, all gay teachers were an example.
Right.
Right?
Okay. We should normalize that things can be problematic and based. Yeah, some people find Yamato's presentation problematic. Like, I don't understand that. I guess, like, he doesn't represent all trans men or even most of them because he's a very feminine presenting person. You know, he still has very large breasticles and a curvaceous body and a high-pitched voice. But in my opinion, his attitude and demeanor are all very masculine. And you don't have to change your body in order to be trans. You know, you can go your whole life loving who you are. You know, let's say you're a person who was born with a penis and balls. You grow up like hairy and grow a beard. And you still want to, like most people, this isn't common. But you can still refer to yourself as a woman and present and act dress and act like a woman. Consider yourself a woman, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, bearded ladies exist, even bearded cis ladies. So my point is, like, yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, Citrus, is that, you know, even if there are problematic elements, it can still be based for the most part.
There are a few examples.
Why is it
of
so
people
quiet?
Getting older and realizing that they shouldn't have transitioned. That
Correct.
happens. It's real. That's real.
Yeah, more than a few.
But there are also really important surgeries that people
What
get
are the
for their
numbers,
heart,
Bill?
and they go wrong
Pull
and
'em up.
somebody dies. And nobody says we must stop the cardiologists. No one says we must stop the
Wow.
surgeons.
This is a very important point. It is not a neutral decision to let a child go through their natural puberty. Okay? That's not neutral. That is putting the ideology that, you know, cisness is the default and transness is bad over the health and safety of a child. You know, natural puberty is still being inducted with hormones, the same hormones that you would be inducted with artificially if you were trans. So, you know, my point is doing nothing is not neutral, and we need to consider the other side of that equation. Yes, there is a regret rate, but it is, first of all, exceedingly low. And second of all, even if it were like 49%, that means that 51% of trans people are happy with how they look. Okay. And I would still be like, even given the full benefit of the doubt, if the regret rate were 49%, okay, that still means that more trans people than not are happy with their care. I still think in that case we should improve, and I still think now that we should improve the care. Okay, we should always be making advances in care. All right, and that helps detrans people as well, by the way. Okay, grifters won't tell you this. You'll never hear this from the right, but trans care helps detransitioners as well. Because if you decide that, you know, you want to go back to, let's say that you get a breast reduction because you're transmasc, and you decide later I'm not transmasc anymore. I want my breasts back. Research into trans care and implants, will help that person get their breast back. Trans care helps everybody. It helps everybody.
We say, let's.
That's your analogy?
Well, my analogy is only that. Wait, let me finish.
I'm just.
Can I finish?
Yes.
You're
it my
so
turn to
smart,
talk?
Bill. He's so
You're
smart.
right.
And what you say is, let's make sure that this version of it is being practiced well. We don't get rid of the specific surgery. We don't throw out a whole field of medicine. We say, let's make sure we're doing it in a way that's healthy. The science, the research, all right, makes clear that, yes, there are exceptions. Yes, there are people practicing it in ways that maybe go too far. But for the most part, study after study shows that gender-affirming care saves. Wait, I'm talking.
It's
It's
true.
my turn. I was so quiet for so long after I interrupted
Well,
a
you
few
weren't,
times.
but okay.
But once I stopped talking, boy, I was good at it. And that gender-affirming care saves a lot of lives. And the truth is, we talk about these edge cases, talk about athletes, talk about locker rooms, but for the most part, what we're talking about is a very small group of people that just want the opportunity to live and express themselves. And there is a war on that group of people from the right to make salient extreme cases, edge cases, not for the purposes of stopping those, but for doing what the Trump administration is doing entirely, which is stopping all gender-affirming care altogether and making trans people nervous when they have to pee at the airport, right?
Beautifully
Which is
put.
the end result of all this.
And of course, that's awful, and I agree with all that, except the part about the
Except.
studies. There was a very big story this year. It was in the front page of the New York Times.
So we're going from studies to one story. Okay.
A woman, I forget her name, and she had
woman.
done, like, it was a 10-year study, did not release it
Okay, so we are talking about a study. We'll see.
on purpose because she said it would weaponize the argument from the other side. So in other words, it came out not the way you wanted the study to come out.
Yeah.
Not what you said. It is a mixed bag. That's true.
Okay.
Some people
I'd like to know the specifics of this study. It's the Cass report. Well, the Cass report and the way that it's been interpreted has been debunked by, I believe, Yale. So, I mean, there are some valid parts of the Cass report, I believe, but the main interpretation of it has been debunked.
yes, it's the right thing, but to take that risk at that age before you know
And even if we were to say that he's right about that singular study, that is nothing in comparison to the mountain of data we have that says that trans care is good. Gender affirming care is good. It only helps people. It literally only helps people.
shit about anything, yes, sometimes it's pretty obvious. It's a very hard call to make. And again, this was a very long study, very thorough, and they wouldn't release it because it came out with the wrong conclusion.
But because it is a hard question, because
Right.
it is a serious question,
Right.
it is a personal question. I don't want Donald Trump deciding. I want parents and doctors.
Well, you just said parents can get shut out.
I don't think parents should get shut out. There are rare exceptions to that. Look, we all believe that parents should have the decisions over their children, but we also
strawmanning
recognize that
them.
some parents do such a bad fucking job that the kids are in danger.
know.
That happens outside of.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Sometimes you are just a bad parent. All the parents in this country are spoiled brats, okay? There's so many parents in this country, not all of them. They're great parents, but so many parents in the United States of America are spoiled brats. They're selfish, they're narcissists, and they want everything their way, you know, and they need to know everything about my little Johnny. You know, I need to know if he's touching himself right now at this moment. Yeah, I need to know that. I need to know every single thing that he looks up on the computer, everything. He has no privacy, you know, like it's literally abuse. I grew up in a household where secrecy was not allowed, okay? And that was an abusive element of my childhood. And I love my parents very much and respect them, okay? But that was an abusive element of my childhood, is no secrets allowed. I wasn't even allowed to lock the doors sometimes, you know? Like, it sucked, and that's abuse. I'm tired of this notion, like, we can't insult parents. Parents know best for their kids. Did those parents go through, like, some kind of course, a college course, to prepare for being a parent? No, they didn't. Random yahoos from bum nowhere can just be a parent. They can just pop out a kid and be terrible at it. And we have to recognize that.
Trans issues. That happens all the time. It's
That's why we
terrible.
have government
Some parents are
regulatory
fucking
bodies.
Terrible. The fact that there are terrible parents in the
Yes,
world
I know.
gets erased on these questions. Do I think that schools should, as a baseline, be keeping a secret from parents? Of course not. No one thinks that.
Well,
no one thinks that.
Apparently that's not true. People do think that. Questions. There is no perfect answer to this. It's as many naughty questions, the least bad answer.
And
Look up the regret rate for transitioning care then. and tell me what the correct answer is. Of course, there's not a perfect answer, but you have the worst answer, which is just take away gender affirming care. I assume for minors. I don't know Bill Maher's exact positions. I assume he's okay with it for adults, but gender affirming care for minors is also very important for cis kids too. Need I remind you guys? I talk a lot about mastectomies for children who are born male. Okay, young boys. It's called gynecomastia, and it is surgery on a minor, and it is completely acceptable. It's gender-affirming surgery on a minor, okay? And that's totally fine and acceptable and whatever to transphobes because that's normal. That's the word they'll use, normal, okay? That's bullshit. If it's fine enough for a young cis boy, then it's fine enough for a young trans boy. And the fact that we don't think that is called transphobia.
The least bad answer is to not have the government decide from above. It's just to leave it up to people and parents and the kids and the doctors, right? You want the government to ban gender-affirming care for kids?
You want to lose every election? Just keep coming down on the side of parents coming in second in a...
You're diverting the conversation. This isn't about winning and losing elections. This is about best medical practices.
Who gets to decide what goes on with my kid contest?
First of all, I'm not talking about winning or losing elections. I agree that there's a salience to this issue. I agree that this has been weaponized. I agree with all that, but I'm just talking about the issue itself. Let's you got to go. That's good. That's it. You're just leaving?
Yeah, I'm just leaving.
Bill Maher, everybody.
Thank you.
I had other questions.
Oh, we could do it all day.
Well, I guess not.
I'm sure you are leaving.
We could.
You got your ass embarrassed.
All right, good. Bill Maher, everybody. Get out of here. Good.
That's it. Get out of here.
Go here.
That's what you really wanted to say.
Yeah. You might notice when you leave that our bathrooms are non-gendered. So
based.
This sign was hysterical.
All right, get out.
Well, not exactly non-gender. One it says urinal.
I love it. I love it. No cordiality whatsoever. Just get out of here. I'm done with you.
Well, so what happened was we had
That's the energy we
men's
need.
room and a women's room. Then they were both non-binary, and then people didn't know where the urinals were. So now it says one just says urinals, and the other says urinals and stalls. Bill Maher, everybody.
I went to a tattoo shop recently that had 2 bathrooms, and I think it said, whatever, just wash your hands. I think that's great. That's Bill Maher, everybody. He wants trans kids to die. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, I really appreciate any financial help that I can get. Go to youtube.com/AlecGunterTTV/join. You got some awesome benefits, such as seeing early videos, awesome emotes that you can use in the comments of YouTube videos, and a sweet badge next to your name. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd really appreciate if you join. It is cheaper than the cost of a blowjob from your mom. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.